Hey guys, my name is Pansy and welcome to my class overview for Aion Classic. Aion Classic is dropping on June 23rd and it will feature the 4 OG class trees from original Aion, that is Warrior, Scout, Mage, and Priest, which subdivide into 2 classes each. The goal of this video is just to give you a little bit of insight into each of the classes from what I remember from back in the old days. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you find this video helpful. Alright guys, before we get started, I just want to let you know I'm making my own Legion for Aion Classic. A Legion is like a guild if you don't know. If you want to join, the link will be in the description down below. Join this Discord and just at me or DM me and I can get you in. If you don't want to join the guild, you can still join the Discord and just chill in the public chat, as well as use the guides and resource section. I still haven't put too much stuff in here, but I'm just collecting some useful things. And for each of the class sections, I'm trying to find some old PvP videos from the old days and just share them over here. But yeah, if you want to submit info, you can do that as well. But I'm going to try to fill this up throughout this weekend and up till the launch. But yeah, if you guys are interested, just hop right in and you can reach out to me there. So I'm sure a lot of you will be watching this video to figure out what class you should play when Aion Classic drops. The good thing about Aion is that their class balance was actually pretty good. In terms of MMORPGs, I think they had the best class balance compared to any other MMO, and it was the closest thing to every class being able to handle every class. There was one mechanic with Sprit Master which was a little bit better than the rest, so that put it up, a single tier above the rest of the classes, but that didn't mean you were completely helpless. There were ways to build for it and to counter it. And for the most part, this game had a really good class balance in my opinion. So I wanted to play every class in the game because they all look so fun. But, the good thing is you can pick the class that really suits you in terms of playstyle and appeals to you in terms of how the aesthetics look, how the skills look, what kind of weapons you're using, long range, melee, whatever. So you can pick a class that you like and you find interesting because you don't have to worry about the tier list or which class is better than which. Every class can be really good. All right, let's start off by talking about the Warrior. The Warrior can become a Gladiator or a Templar. A Gladiator is your typical two-handed axe wielding melee DPS class and can off-tank and can use a bunch of other weapons as well. We'll talk about those. And your Templar is your typical tank of the game, the main tank, and they can also do damage. So don't be fooled by support classes in Aion. Just because they're a healer or a tank doesn't mean they can't blow someone up, trust me. So let's start with Gladiator. So the main weapon of a Gladiator is a polearm. It's like a two-handed axe, and they can use other weapons as well, like swords, daggers, maces, great swords, and bows. And for their armor, their primary armor is plate, and they can also equip shields to off-tank. So there's one thing to note with the one-handed weapons. There is a stigma for a Gladiator which allows them to dual wield. So instead of having one sword, you can have two swords and just dual wield one-handed sword. So it's pretty cool. And that's actually a really popular way to DPS in PvE because he can dish out a lot of single target damage. As for the armor, I recall back in the old days of vanilla Aion, when it first came out, we were able to equip other armor types as well, but later Aion moved on to being able to only equip your base class's armor set. Like warriors were plate, scouts were leather, mages were cloth, and priests were chain. But in the old days, we were able to equip everything pretty much. In terms of playstyle, what really set Gladiators apart was their insane damage along with big AoEs. That really was a difference maker for them. Because if they use swords, they're limited to doing single target damage. But a lot of other classes had some form of AoE damage as well, but Gladiators was just on another level. It was just too good. So I think that was his domain, where you go into a big group of players and just smash your AoEs. That's something pretty unique to the Gladiator. But they were pretty tanky. They had great damage. They could catch people from range using ankle snare and had a few range attacks to chase people down as well. And you can increase the range of your attacks with extendable weapons, which was dope. But for the most part, they're your typical melee DPS. And if you want to play something that's really straightforward, this is your class. This is a phenomenal class. I think I had the most fun as a Gladiator, and I look forward to playing this one in Aion Classic as well. Next up, let's talk about the Templar. Now, like I said, just because it's the tank does not mean they can't do well in PvP. They were monsters in PvP, excellent 1v1 class, because they got tankiness, survivability, and burst damage, as well as catching people from range. that was like their forte, because Templars had a unique mechanic where they could pull players in. It was a long range pull. They would grab them, pull them in, and hold them in place, and that was like phenomenal for both 1v1 small scale as well as large scale. Because if you're zerging and a Templar is like frontlining, and all you do is catch someone, pull them in, and your zerg just deletes them. I mean, it is such a broken mechanic, but it is so fun, and it's an excellent class. You don't have to. Do not think that if you're a Templar, you have to resort to just one-handed sword and shield tanking. No, every Templar carried a freaking greatsword with them. They bust it out, you switch over to it and just do some big damage with like Shining Blade and stuff. So trust me, Aion Classic is going to have a really good time with Templars. Templars were a phenomenal class all throughout Aion's history, and you can't go wrong with it. If you're looking to be tanky, have a place in PvE as well as in group content, this is your class. Alright guys, now we have the Ranger. Ranger is one of the scout classes along with Assassin, and both of them can equip leather and cloth armor in Aion Classic. So the weapons for Ranger is going to be the primary weapon, obviously the bow, but she can also equip, or it can also equip daggers and swords. I keep forgetting there's no gender lock in this game, thank God. So your primary weapon is going to be bow, but if you're a pro Ranger, you might switch over to your offense, your daggers and stuff to do a quick stun or something. So most of the time you'll be spending it on using the bow. Now let's talk a little bit about Ranger's playstyle. So Ranger had a lot of instant cast abilities, and their CCs were great. They had silence arrow, they had stun arrows, they had sleep arrows, they had traps and able to root targets. They had a lot of CC abilities and had a pretty decent kit. So because of their abilities being instant cast and a pretty long range, on top of that you have a stealth. Not as nice as the assassin stealth. It's it's like a tier lower. It's a shorter duration, less movement speed and all that stuff. But the thing is, you can get the jump on pretty much anyone in the abyss, and because it's a 3-dimensional fight where you're fighting in the air with your wings out and you have a damage boost from that, Ranger just really excelled in the abyss in my opinion. I think if you want to be someone who's like solo ganking in the abyss a lot and doing a lot of abyss PvP, Ranger should be a top pick. Not to say Ranger isn't good in open world PvP and stuff. It's just that, when you're doing a 3-dimensional fight, everyone's flying around, having that range and instant cast CCs just really helps. So phenomenal class all around. Then we have the Assassin. Now, in my opinion, and from what my chat told me on stream, Assassins really didn't come into their true power until like patch 2.5 or 3.0 when they got a lot of updates. But not to say they were still strong classes. They were still a good class to play. But it's just later in Aion they became absolute monsters. So they went from being a decent class to a phenomenal top tier #1 class. But regardless, Assassins are still a really good class here in Classic. You have the better stealth than Ranger, and your primary weapons are going to be daggers, swords, and bows. Daggers are your main weapon, but I do recall using 1 dagger, 1 sword, or even using 2 swords at certain situations, but I think for the most part, daggers are your main weapons, and you can equip leather and cloth. Now for the playstyle of Assassin. Assassin is obviously a very roguelike class. They had a really good stealth. It wasn't perma-stealth, but better than the Ranger stealth, and they had a lot of damage in the form of building up combo points and dumping them out. So in this game, it wasn't actually called combo points. It was these runes which get carved on your target. You would see it on their debuff bar, and when you had a certain number, it enhanced the power of some of your skills. So a very fast-paced class, which I feel of all the classes, these excel the most with a really low ping. So if you had sub 20 ping, you were absolutely ahead of the curve compared to another assassin playing with 100 ping. So that's just something to keep in mind. When it comes to classes with high attack speed melee weapons like Assassin and a dual wielding Gladiator, weaving your auto attacks is a big deal. So thanks to daggers being such quick weapons, they could dish out a lot of damage in PvE as well. So they were really good at weaving. But overall, I think if you want to do a lot of solo PvP and just ganking alone, I think Assassin is an all-around really good class and can do some great work. So if that's your playstyle, this is the class for you. Now for the Mage classes of Aion Classic. We have two classes here, the Sprit Master and the Sorcerer. Both are cloth-wearing users, and they can use tomes and orbs. The Sprit Master is basically the summoner of Aion Classic. It can summon an elemental of water, fire, earth, or wind to help you do battle. It can use certain skills off them, as well as the Sprit Master has its own skills. So its primary damage is going to be in the form of damage over time that are dot skills, but also has some impact damage skills, and it has one of the most notable CCs in the game. That is the fear. So in games like World of Warcraft, whenever you get feared, a high amount of damage can immediately break you out. Whereas in Aion Classic, the Sprit Master isn't going to stop hitting you. It's going to keep hitting you and you're just going to sit there and take it. And there's really no counter to that mechanic. So it makes it very broken. Back in the old days, as a Gladiator, I used to have a complete different set of, I think it was a chain or cloth armor, where it was completely magic resist. And whenever I see a Sprit Master or a Sorcerer, I'd immediately switch to that set. Yes, I'll do a lot less damage, but I'll have a much better chance fighting them if I can resist some of their CC skills. And against the Sprit Master, that was crucial because you really couldn't do anything else to break out of fear. So that was the one broken mechanic in the game. That is the only mechanic in this game that I will ever complain about, but at the same time, I'm not raging about it or quitting the game over it, but it's just what it is. So if you say every class is balanced, it's true, but Sprit Master is the only one that's one step ahead because of that one mechanic. To be able to CC for such a long duration, as well as have your pet and you constantly attacking throughout that duration, it's just crazy. But, you know, that's just the mechanic in the game. So if you basically like playing a summoner class with good damage and great CC, this is the class for you. It's less ping dependent than an assassin. I know we just talked about that. So it's something to keep in mind. The mage classes are a better alternative if you have a really high ping, in my opinion. But yeah, one of the most broken classes in the game for a long period of time, but at the same time, it's just that one mechanic. If you can resist that one fear, you could be on top of them and take them down. But let's talk about Sorc next. Sorcerer is the traditional mage class of Aion and is the specialist of CCs. They have probably the most amount of CCs in the game, and they play a vital role in group content. So for example, whether it's in dungeons or in group PvP, it's common for the party leader to immediately put markers on top of the enemies. So what a Sorc would do is pick out some of them and CC them. And because of the wide array of CCs available to the Sorc, they can actually control multiple targets. So for example, they can freeze, they can turn them into a tree, they can put them to sleep, they can put them in an aether hold and shoot laser beams at them. They have a lot of CCs and more than any other class, I believe. So they are, like any other mages, big magical damage. On top of their CC abilities, their wide array of CCs, they can hit really hard. They have excellent long range nuke skills, which can do massive amounts of damage, and they fit in group content as well as abyss PKing really well. They just have that versatility and damage capability. So if you like playing mage classes, I mean, you can choose either you want to be a summoner or you want to be the traditional mage style, and yeah, you can't go wrong with either one. Now for the priest classes of Aion Classic. You have Cleric and Chanter. A Cleric is basically a Sorc with heals. A Chanter is basically a Gladiator with heals. Alright, that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, so let's talk about Clerics first. So while both classes can keep a group alive and heal pretty well, Cleric is the traditional healing style class. They will stand in the back, they have a wide array of healing abilities and have a really high healing output. But they also have long range abilities, so that allows them to debuff targets and also dish out some damage while staying in a safe position. They use maces and staves. Mace is their primary along with a shield, so it's a one-handed mace with a shield, and they wear chain armor. Oh my. Alright, now for the Chanters. They're going to be the opposite of Clerics here. They deal a lot of physical damage, and they don't have the full array of healing skills a Cleric does, but they make up for it with their unique abilities here. These are called mantras. So a mantra is a toggle buff, which gives the party members in range a certain stat buff. So whether it's a percentage damage buff, movement speed buff, or defense buff, this is all really important because there's only a certain amount of movement speed some classes can attain. And in order to push it further, you do need to have a Chanter in your party. So if you're out there doing some group PvP, a Chanter is so crucial. It really increases the survivability of your party by a huge amount. Back in 2019, I was playing Aion for a few months and I mained a Chanter. Even though I was under geared compared to everyone because I just started, I was always there with the main group and we did some phenomenal group PvP. It was excellent. Chanter was able to keep up with everyone. They have long range CCs, they have melee CCs. Their buffs just increase the survivability and the damage output of your party by so much. And the movement speed is great. Everyone was moving at max speed because of my buffs, and we were able to cover a lot of ground, and it made such a big difference. If you're in a party with a Chanter and you're chasing down a party without a Chanter, chances are you're going to catch him. Very few classes can maintain that kind of movement speed. I believe an Assassin's one of them, but to escape a Chanter is a very difficult one. So Chanter has some excellent group content ability. They can heal in PvE, keep the group up, buff them, as well as in PvP have a really nice supportive role, keep up the group, give them a lot of strength, as well as take out people. I've seen Chanters burst down people real bad. Like, you can look it up in some YouTube videos or something. Chanters got damaged, so this is a really good class to end it on because I get excited talking about every single class in the game because a lot of them are really balanced. Sprit Master Sphere is probably the only complaint I'd have, but you know, I can ignore that because the rest of the game is so good. Like, fighting a Sprit Master, I've been able to beat them many times. It's not a 100% guaranteed win for them. They have to get it off, and you know, if you get the jump on them, you still have a chance there. But for the most part, of all the MMORPGs I've played, Aion is my favorite launch. The first 6 months were phenomenal. I think it was the most balanced PvP I ever faced, and it was rewarding. It was really rewarding. It was a brutal game. It was tough. It was like on the level of WoW Classic in terms of progression, but it was so rewarding getting that gear at the end game, destroying people, participating in those sieges and fort sieges, and it was so fun. So I do look forward to Aion Classic, and I hope to see you all there. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please do like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to join our Legion Dice, feel free to join the Discord down below in the description. And if you just want to hang out, that's fine too. I'll be releasing some more videos on Aion Classic in the days leading up to the launch. And afterwards, I'll probably make some content or guides based on the gameplay. But we'll see how it goes. Hopefully this will be a successful launch. I've been looking forward to it for so long, and I'm super hyped. Anyway, I hope to see you all there, and until next time, take it easy.